Hi guys, Jeff Westfall back. More guard passing with the stability ball. Now we're looking at the double under guard pass. Now the double under guard pass means that the opponent, if you're my opponent and you're looking right at me and I'm lying supine and I've got my feet pointed at you, you never like my feet pointed at you. That's just like two big old naval guns pointed at you. You want to make those point up and away and then fill in this space with your body. That's what the beginning of the technique looks like. So if you can imagine his 2 feet pointing at me, and I'm out here and I'm worried about those feet entangling my legs as I stand and approach him. So I try to engage in deceptive movements and footwork, never getting close enough to allow him to hook into my legs with his legs. I also don't want him to suddenly sit up and grab my collar. So I'm being respectful and careful with my distance. When I'm tapping in real life instead of the ball, is I'm messing with his feet. He's here like this. He's trying to figure out what I'm doing, and he's trying to keep his feet pointed at me all the time. He's ready to do whatever it is he wants to do. My goal is to fill in this space under here. So here we are. I'm doing my deceptive footwork. When I finally start this technique, I'm going to step in square, drop my weight, get my elbows close to my body, and place my palms, engage the ball like this. Now what that's simulating is my hands grabbing a number of places. I could be grabbing the soles of his feet. I could be grabbing at his Achilles tendons. I could be cupping his heels. But I am lifting and driving this way to expose the back of my opponent's hamstrings. So when I engage and come in, I shift weight into him, and there's going to be a continuous use of weight throughout this technique. I want you to observe that carefully. The moment my hands touch, I begin shifting weight into it. It goes to my chest, and watch me slide my knee and my foot. There's a moment where I'm floating, and almost all my weight is on my chest, on the dummy, and then I catch myself with my right knee, my right hand, and my left foot. I'll show you this from another view here in a little bit. Let's try it from here. Did you see the float? Did you see how my feet traveled? Better part of a foot? So here I am. Another element of this technique is diagonal force, directionality of force. In this case, before we talk about that, let's talk a little bit about diagonal control. The problem with holding a man down and controlling him is that he's got 4 corners, and you don't have enough limbs to control every one of those corners. So one of the most effective and economical ways to control a man on the ground is to control 2 diagonally opposite corners of his body. And that's going to be reflected in this technique. So if you can control this hip and this shoulder and have them both pinned down, it stops my movement on a lot of different axes. It's a really efficient thing. If you can control this hip and this shoulder, same thing. That's diagonal control, and it's a concept that rears its ugly head over and over and over again in hold down, in pins, and in guard passing. So let's do it coming this way. And I'll explain the diagonal control and the directionality of it a little more as we go along. So I'm out here, I work my way in to where I can tap. When I'm ready, step in, transfer the weight, and float, and come to here. Now this action is going to travel that way with this shoulder, but with my head, the diagonality is my head will work its way in that direction. So my shoulder will go that way towards his head, which is here, but my head is going towards the opposite side of his head. I'm literally looking to get an effect that I call forking, where my right arm is going around his neck and my head's going to the other side. So as we finish, my head will be across on his opposite shoulder and I'll be around his neck at the same time. So here we are. Of course, he's just a stability ball, so you might not see that. The next thing I want to do in this position, I've got this hand on the mat, is I want to simulate, I've already in the guard pass, I've already grabbed his opposite collar. In this case, I'm grabbing his right collar, down very low, way down by his belt. And I'm sucking my elbow around. On the drill with the ball, I put my palm down here. It's always, the stability ball has special challenges for your balance because it sits up so high, much higher than all but the very most well-endowed bellied humans would have the height to challenge you in this way. So what we're doing here is I'm pulling this back with my hand here. I'm always ready to base on the hand to give me a little extra help with the balance and the stability ball. It still feels a lot like the pass. Suck this elbow back. That's increasing my diagonal control. That creates pressure pulling on his diagonally opposite shoulder as I pull on that lapel. The next thing I need to do is I need to get more weight into him. And that's going to happen by getting off my knees and sagging both my knees to the left. Here, my weight is being expressed right through my navel and my hips. But as I sag my knees this way, my right hip turns into the number one pressure point on the ball. That makes my head start to go more diagonally, like this. That also, look at it from this view, that motion of getting off my knees and turning my hip in also moves this knee away and creates space for this arm, which is going to occupy that space by reaching way around the ball and getting a big hug. That's simulating gripping his drawstring on his pants and in the hopes of lifting his hips. To simulate lifting his hips, I will be rolling the ball and I'm creating friction in lifting and rolling the ball. That's going to make my shoulder go that way, my head go diagonally that way. So I've floated in, I've sucked my elbow back, I've gotten off my knees, opening up this left knee, creating space for the hug. Now, this is where we have to make a certain concession to the stability ball. What I would actually do from here as I begin to stack my opponent up, once he reaches a real severe point of discomfort, I would go under his neck with this arm. Well, because the ball sits so high, I have this moment of imbalance and stability if I don't make an adjustment. And with a human, it's not there, but with the stability ball, it is. So my adjustment is going to be, instead of continuing to hold on to this lapel, or simulating holding on to the lapel, in reality I would be, my hand is going to start creepy fingering up the mat as I roll and drive across with my head and sag my hips, eventually reaching a point where it can comfortably go to the forearm. Now we're just about ready to finish the pass. So what I want to do from here, I've got a lot of weight sitting on my right forearm. It feels comfortable. I have no weight on this foot. I'm going to bring my right knee to my right elbow. I'm able to do that because of how much of my weight is in my hip. I can easily bring that knee to the elbow. And finally, this leg circles around and I push the ball away with my knee and slide away. If I need to, I can even use my head to help. And the last thing that's hung up on the ball is this arm. Well, that's easy. I'm going to internally rotate my shoulder to put pressure into the ball, bring my hand down, and I've passed the guard. And I never knocked the ball away. It might roll away from me because it's kind of out of round now. But ideally, there shouldn't be a moment where my pressure kicks the ball out and pushes it. I should still be close to the ball or maybe even holding it as I finish. And that's simulating keeping control of the man's legs. Let's look at it from this diagonal. I float, I suck the elbow back, I get off my knees and start to drive with my head. I sag my hips so that my right hip goes into the ball. That allows me to hug the ball with my left hand. I start driving my head across and walk in my hand until it's easy to go to my forearm. I want to feel very stable here. I want to feel like I have no chance of losing my balance and getting knocked down, even though I'm moving in different directions. And when I'm ready, I'm going to make my right knee join my right elbow. I still feel stable here. Even though this is off the ground, I've got enough weight into it and I feel good. Finally, this leg comes around and pushes against the ball. The last thing that's left is my left arm is hung up on the ball a little bit, so I internally rotate. I go thumbs down, keeping pressure into the ball with my shoulder until my hand can reach the mat down here, and then I can forget about the ball. I've actually passed the guard. But notice how it stayed pretty close to me. It didn't roll away. I use that as a standard for how well I've kept everything tight as I was doing the technique. This is something I've been playing with. I hope you find it useful. I'm going to be presenting other guard passing series using the stability ball. I'm glad I was able to get all of this one in with one video. The next one, I don't think that's going to work. That's the over-under guard pass. That's going to take at least more than one video to show you, maybe more than two. So I hope you found this useful. I enjoyed putting it together for you. Let me know if you have any questions, and get busy training.